Catch the thought running through your mind right now. Now ask yourself this: who first spoke this thought? If the answer is not you, then that thought does not belong to you, and I will show you that most thoughts do not belong to you. My name is Nikola Tesla. What I am about to tell you is something I discovered by accident and spent 10 years trying to disprove before I finally accepted it. Most of the thoughts you believe are yours actually belong to someone else. They are running in your mind like a program written by another person, and you have been executing that program your entire life without ever questioning who wrote it. This is not a philosophical idea. This is a mechanical observation. I noticed it first in myself, and then in every person I spoke with for any length of time. The pattern is always the same. Ask someone why they believe something, and they will give you an answer. Ask them where that answer came from, and they will pause. Most people cannot tell you the origin of their own thoughts. They simply inherited them and never checked whether they actually agreed. I developed a very simple test for this. I call it the mirror test, not because it involves an actual mirror, because it shows you a reflection of your mind that most people have never looked at directly. And what you see in that reflection will disturb you. But it is better to see it than to continue living with thoughts that do not serve you and were never yours to begin with. Let me show you how the test works. The first step is to catch a thought. Not just any thought. A thought that drives a decision. A belief about what is possible or impossible for you. A rule you follow about how things must be done. A fear about what will happen if you do something or do not do something. Catch one of these thoughts clearly. Now ask yourself this question: when did I first think this thought? Not when did I last think it? When did I first encounter this idea? Be specific. Was it 5 years ago? 10 years ago? In childhood? Can you remember the moment it entered your mind? Most people cannot remember. The thought has been there so long it feels like it was always there. Like it is part of them. But if you press on this question, if you really try to find the origin, something interesting happens. A voice emerges. A person. A moment. Someone said this to you. Someone taught you to think this way. And you adopted it without ever deciding whether you actually agreed. This is the first shock of the mirror test. Realizing how many of your thoughts came from somewhere else. But here is the second part of the test, and this is where it becomes useful. Once you have identified that a thought came from someone else, ask yourself this: does this thought serve me now? Not did it serve the person who gave it to me? Not does it serve the situation I was in when I first heard it? Does it serve me now, in my actual current circumstances, with my actual current goals? Most of the time the answer is no. The thought served someone else, or it served a version of you that no longer exists. But it is still running, still influencing your decisions, still limiting what you believe is possible, and you never stopped to check whether you still needed it. Let me give you an example. A man I knew, very capable, told me he could not speak in front of groups of people. I asked him when he first believed this. He said he had always believed it. I asked him to think harder. Eventually, he remembered. A teacher told him when he was 12 years old that he was not a natural speaker. One comment, one person, 30 years ago, and he had been carrying it as if it were a fundamental truth about himself. We tested it. He spoke in front of a small group. He was perfectly capable. The thought did not belong to him. It belonged to a teacher who made a careless comment decades earlier. How many thoughts like this are you carrying? How many rules, fears, limitations that you believe are yours, but actually came from someone who does not even remember saying them? Stay with me, because the next part changes how you see this. The third step of the mirror test is the most important. Once you have identified a thought that does not belong to you and does not serve you, you have to actively replace it. This is not easy. The old thought has been running for years. It has worn a deep groove in your mind. Simply knowing it does not belong to you is not enough. You have to write a new thought and run it deliberately until it becomes automatic. Here is how you do this. Write down the old thought exactly as it appears in your mind. Then write down the opposite. Not a positive affirmation, not something you wish were true, the actual opposite of the limiting belief. Then ask yourself this: what evidence do I have for the new thought? Look for it. You will find it. There is always evidence. You have been ignoring it because the old thought told you to ignore it. A woman I knew believed she was bad with numbers. She had believed this since childhood. Her father told her that women were not suited for mathematics. One comment. Decades of limitation. We did the mirror test. She wrote down the old thought. She wrote down the opposite. Then she looked for evidence. She realized she managed the household finances perfectly. She calculated recipes. She estimated costs and made accurate predictions about expenses. She was not bad with numbers at all. She had simply been ignoring all the evidence that contradicted what her father told her. She began to run the new thought deliberately. I am capable with numbers. Every time the old thought appeared, she replaced it. Within 3 months, the old thought stopped appearing. The new thought had become automatic, and her decisions changed. She took on responsibilities she had been avoiding for years. This is not self-deception. This is clearing out someone else's programming and replacing it with your own direct observation. But here is what most people miss. The mirror test is not something you do once. It is something you do continuously. Because thoughts that do not belong to you are entering your mind every single day. Every conversation, every piece of advice, every judgment from someone else, every time you consume information without questioning it. New thoughts arrive, and if you do not test them, they become part of your programming without your consent. Think about what you consumed yesterday. News, opinions, stories, comments from other people. How much of that material did you actively decide to adopt, and how much just settled into your mind without you noticing? How much of what you will think tomorrow is actually coming from something you passively absorbed yesterday? This is why most people feel like they are not in control of their own minds. Because they are not. Their minds are running a mixture of their own thoughts and everyone else's thoughts with no clear boundary between the two. The solution is to create that boundary. And the way you create it is with the mirror test. Ask the question constantly. Who first spoke this thought? Does it serve me? Do I have evidence for it from my own direct experience? When you do this consistently, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes quieter. Not because you are thinking less, because you are thinking more clearly. The noise of other people's thoughts begins to fade. What remains is much smaller, but much more powerful. Your own actual observations, your own actual conclusions, your own actual direction. In a moment, you will see why this matters more than anything else I could tell you. There is a deeper pattern here that most people never see. The thoughts that do not belong to you are not random. They follow a very specific pattern. They are almost always limiting. They are almost always about what you cannot do, should not try, will not be able to achieve. This is not an accident. The people who gave you these thoughts were themselves limited. They were carrying thoughts that did not belong to them. And they passed those thoughts to you the same way someone passes on a disease without realizing they are sick. Your parents, your teachers, your early friends. They were not trying to harm you. They were simply repeating what had been repeated to them. Limitations passed down like an inheritance no one wanted, but everyone accepted. But here is the important part. You can stop the pattern. You can be the place where the inheritance ends. By testing your thoughts. By keeping only what serves you. By refusing to pass on limitations you have not personally verified. I knew a man, older than me, who told me something I have thought about many times since. He said his greatest regret was not the mistakes he made, it was the things he never tried, because someone told him he could not. He carried thoughts about his own limitations that were never his. And he realized this too late to do anything about most of them. But he made sure he did not pass those same thoughts to his children. He tested everything he told them. He made sure he was speaking from his own observation and not simply repeating what he had been told. This is what the mirror test allows you to do. To stop being a transmission point for other people's limitations. To clean your own mind first, and then to be very careful about what you allow to enter it and what you choose to speak out of it. Now let me show you how to practice this daily. Every evening, take 10 minutes. Sit with a piece of paper. Write down one decision you made that day. Not a large decision. Any decision. What you chose to work on. What you chose to avoid. What you chose to say or not say. Then ask yourself the 3 questions. When did I first think the thought that drove this decision? Who gave me this thought? Does this thought serve me now based on my own direct evidence? If the thought came from someone else and does not serve you, write down the replacement. Write down what you have actually observed. Then commit to running the new thought the next time a similar decision appears. Do this every evening for 1 month. You will be shocked at how many of your daily decisions are being driven by thoughts that do not belong to you. And you will be even more shocked at how much your life changes when you replace them with thoughts based on your own direct observation. A woman who tried this told me something that stayed with me. She said it felt like she had been living someone else's life without realizing it. And when she started testing her thoughts, her actual life began to emerge. Not a better life, not a perfect life, but her life, based on her own observations, her own evidence, her own conclusions. This is what the mirror test gives you. Not a better set of thoughts, your own thoughts. And that difference is everything. I have been testing my own thoughts for over 30 years now. I still find thoughts that do not belong to me. Ideas I adopted without questioning. Rules I follow that serve no purpose except that someone once told me they were important. The work never ends, but it gets easier, and the mind gets clearer. Which of your thoughts do you recognize as not belonging to you? Think about this carefully. The answer is the beginning of reclaiming your own mind.